Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, today we continue our focus on several states who, at the moment, have got some challenge with the payment of salaries. Well, we do know that the National Bureau of Statistics did release the 2014 IGR report, which it's also out there. But this morning we're joined by Professor Olaseni Akintola-Bello, who is the team leader for European Union support for federal governance reforms. Thank you for coming on this morning, Prof.
Thank you. Welcome. Yes.
Well, this certainly raising a lot of concern at the moment, how states are where they are. And I know you also get involved. You were at some point in time with drafting budgets of different states. So perhaps we could get the benefit of hindsight into what goes on. And were you surprised in the first instance when you heard that they're having challenge with payment of their salaries?
Well, one should not be surprised because most state governors don't respect the budget. And what is happening now shows that the budget is the most important policy document of government because an instrument of socioeconomic engineering. So what we have now is, if you look at the scissors, for example, the two sides of the scissors they are not equal. One is longer than the other. So what we have now is what we can call scissors crisis. Expenditure rising faster than revenues. It's simply scissors crisis. And if you have scissors crisis, you've got to do some sort of fiscal reforms. And I think that the starting point is for the governor to respect the budget or perhaps to understand the budget very well. Because if you look at the budget, you have the recurrent revenues and the recurrent expenditure. And, or put it simply, there are two aspects of the budget. Some aspects are non-discretionary and some aspects are discretionary. Capital expenditures and what have you are discretionary. Paying salaries, paying pensions, gratuities, what have you, are non-discretionary, which means that they are prior obligations of the government. So how do you now ignore the discretionary, the non-discretionary aspects of the government, of the budget, and then concentrate on the discretionary aspect by spending money? If you look at some of the states, and I think one of the governors said something, don't bite more than you can chew, which means that one of the good aspects of, one aspect of a good budget is that you must tailor your revenue to your expenditure. And you can raise debt within your ability to repay. If you can respect those two principles, that is, match your revenue to your expenditure, raise debt within your ability to repay debt, you won't have problems.
That sounds like basic economics. I mean, even in managing your personal finances, those are, unspoken rules that everyone must respect.
That is why I say that the governors are at times, I won't like to use the word reckless. They don't respect the budget. It's fiscal indiscipline. So if there is a way we can bring about fiscal discipline, that's the first step.
But the thing, Prof, is that that's why we have checks and balances, because these kind of things can happen, and then you have one arm of government and then the other, the legislative arm, for instance. Shouldn't they wade in when they see certain red flags going on, say, listen, no, Mr. Governor, you can't do this kind of thing, but it looks as if that is not happening at the moment.
Well, if you have a legislature that is made up of the same party as the governor, they will not like to upset the apple cart. That's another problem. Now, there are what we call fiscal transparency rules, which are international good practices, and I think that most of our governments are not fiscally transparent. While, for example, a governor or a state is supposed to publish monthly reports or quarterly reports for everybody to see. So we don't have to wait until things go bad, all right, before we start making noise. So, and I will expect that the assembly people will have followed. They will have insisted on this fiscal transparency.
Okay, we also do have the 2014 IGR report, but we'll come to that in a minute. But the governors met the last time, and then they are also waiting for this meeting with the president. But let's take a look at some of the issues raised in this report.
Nigerian state governors arriving for the meeting convened to brainstorm on how to build a lasting democracy and ensuring that its dividends get to those who elected them. It's the first in the series organized by the forum since the newly elected governors took up the mantle of leadership. Reports that most state governments are owing salaries and other backlog of debts are some of the issues receiving attention here. After about 5 hours of closed-door meeting, the governors came up with these resolutions.
We are trying to see that we find a lasting solution, as we just mentioned in our communique, that we are seeing presidents to sit down with him. As we are bad, that's as well as the federal government is also on the same thing, because some of the agencies were not paid salary for 6 months, and you agree with me, it's not only state. So therefore, it's the problem of the entire nation, not only state. So therefore, we are going to work with the Senate to cross our fingers, meet with the president, so that we can get a lasting solution to this problem.
The forum also came up with a resolution on how the federal government can assist states suffering from the Boko Haram attacks.
Various issues of national interest to be discussed with Mr. President in order to seek a lasting solution for the economic challenges confronting the nation.
On the issue of whether to seek for a bailout to clear the issues of unpaid salaries, some of the governors had this to say.
We could do a lot better if so much had been stolen. First under the so-called SS crude, but also direct stealing in the guise of subsidy, direct stealing from SS crude to fund all kinds of things. And various agencies of government treasuries are emptied, and so on and so forth. So it is not, a lot of people say, because of a drop in oil prices. That is not it. I think the real way forward is that, thank God, it's a new government. They have to block all the leakages.
It's a national issue, and as a forum, we've agreed to reach out to Mr. President and get this issue sorted out. It is a national issue. No problem. We're going to get over it.
Workers in states affected by the harsh economic realities in the country have continued to cry out for help. It remains to be seen if some of the decisions reached at this meeting will translate into making life more meaningful for them.